What's up, guys? We are back for another older NECA Predator review, digging back into that recent haul that I got. And today we're taking a look at a Predator from the Los Angeles hunting party from Predator 2. We are taking a look today at the Battle Armor Lost Predator, otherwise known as the BORG Predator as well. So this guy comes on the standard NECA Predator style blister card package. You can see him there in the big window. We have got the City Hunter on the backer card. We've got the logo down on the bottom, and then the back has a brief write-up and then a bit of a cross-sell as well. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. Alright guys, here he is out of the packaging, our Battle Armor Lost Predator, and this guy might seem, well, odd to begin with just because of his design, and not to mention the name and what he looks like and just all kinds of things, because this guy is a little bit of a different figure. He is a concept design, which was then translated into a figure. This guy is from Predator 2, but he doesn't look like this in the movie. He doesn't have all of like the cybernetics all over him. He has a little bit of it, and that's why he's also called the BORG Predator, but he's also called the Lost Predator as well. Actually, all of those Predators are called the Lost Predators because all of the suits after the movie were lost. So that's where the name comes from. But this guy has just a crazy look. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here, and yeah, he very much stands out among the Predator crowd. So let's take a look real quick at articulation, see how he moves around. You probably won't be too surprised, but there are some limiting factors to this figure for sure. So we'll start at the head as usual. You can go backwards, and he can basically look straight ahead. That's about as far back as he goes. And he can look down. He can rotate side to side. And the plasma caster doesn't really get in the way too much. It does some. You're going to hit those dreadlocks, but it's not too bad. Arms go out. The armor moves with him. It's pretty nice. Swivel. There is no bicep swivel. There's rotation at the elbow, but he doesn't really have very good bends. He has gauntlets that go almost up to the elbow, so both of them barely bend, and it's really the big downfall of this figure. If there's one major gripe, it's going to be that, because it's very limiting when it comes to poses. And then we've got ball pegs at the wrist, so side to side, up and down, swivel. He's got a waist twist, works well enough. Legs go out, forward, backward. You can cut up there at that thigh, and then you've got double jointed knees. There is nothing at the ankle or anything like that, or the shin rather, but the ankles have the ball pegs down there. So forward and backward, rock side to side a bit, and then rotation. So he has all of the standard older style Predator articulation because, you know, he's an older Predator. The big deal, or at least a big problem, is that he doesn't have the greatest elbow articulation just because of all the junk around his wrists. But let's face it, the real draw for this figure is absolutely, unequivocally, the look. Not only because he is so different looking, but just because there is so much stuff going on with this particular figure. He doesn't have a removable mask, so what you see here is what you get. He is very, very cybernetic, very, very techy, even more futuristic than pretty much every other Predator, really. So he's got this humongous harness on his chest with tons and tons of intricate work, a lot of blacks and blues. That's really the color scheme when it comes to his armor, is black and blue with little red accents. So you've got just tons of sculpted detail all around the chest, a lot of wiring. Doesn't get in the way of articulation either. It's kind of like a battle harness almost. And then he's got a humongous, you know, techie metal loincloth down here, girdle, belt, whatever you want to call it. And then he's got some thigh pads down here. We've got the knee pads, the shin pads. So this is kind of standard stuff down here. I'm not familiar with this piece. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it before, but it's not jumping out at me. Again, we've got the aforementioned wrist guards, which do have a bunch of detail on them to begin with. A lot of paint, dry brushing. They're rather plain compared to the rest of the figure, but in general, they are still a little bit more amped up than just about every other Predator in many occasions. We have got the other side of his armor here, so we've got almost like a metal spine that runs down from the scabbard for the sword, which is already in there. A lot of paint detail on this guy, a lot of dry brushing, more techie look to the backside of him, and then you've got this really, really huge, fantastic looking plasma caster on his side, silver detail, tons and tons of paint work, a lot of sculpt. There is just so much little detail crammed into just about every facet of this figure. It's pretty fantastic. And then you've got the actual gun, laser aspect of it. You do have to pop this on. It's a ball peg that actually sits in a little cavity here, so it moves back and forth, side to side, in and out, and then it's a ball peg up on the cannon part as well. Frankly, this is a really nice design. It's a lot better than the hinge and pin plasma casters that we see a lot recently, or in general. This one's really, really nice. It seems a lot more rugged and sturdy than the others that we see quite often. And then, of course, he does have a rather non-standard skin tone as well. We, of course, have got the fish netting all over him, but he is that standard kind of cream color for the skin tone, but he has a lot of green over top of it. Tons on the hands, on the feet, all over, a bunch of striping, and then little red dots all over, just kind of like, you know, predator freckles or something like that. But he just looks so different. It's a really, really unique look while still being very predator, even though he is obviously augmented, to say the least. And of course, just like the body is covered in armor, augmented, cybernetic, techie, the head is easily the most technically inclined aspect of this figure. There's just a lot going on here. You can see we've got that standard Predator helmet mask shape, but it's very different. It's really angular. It's got tons of wiring all piped through it. You've got that metallic red visor that runs through the middle. He just looks almost robotic. There's very little indication that there's a head in there until you get around the backside. It looks like a robot head, which I really like. And again, there's just tons and tons of paint on this guy. A lot of blues and blacks, dry brushing, just a little tiny detail to bring out the sculpt, make it look worn, make it look dirty. And then, of course, you do have a little bit of a skull peeking through the back, and then we've got the dreadlocks, the predlocks coming out there as well with a nice kind of silver with tarnished look paint to him. So there's a lot going on with this guy. In general, just a fantastic look that is very similar, but also very, very different from what we expect to see at the same time. Now for accessories, we've got two different weapons here. We have got the little kind of Predator shuriken thing almost. This guy's interesting. I like the design, but it's kind of awkward. He doesn't really have the hands for it, all things considered. He holds it really awkwardly. You can get him into some interesting and decent enough poses, but it's not something that I think I'm going to display with him. It is sculpted and painted really nicely, though. It does seem a little on the fragile side, so watch out if you get a hold of this guy. Just watch out. You might break off one of those blades. And then the really interesting weapon accessory that he has here is his humongous sword. And this thing just looks, again, very futuristic, very techy, very non-Predator almost. He can hold both weapons in either hand just fine. Again, the shuriken thing is a little awkward. The sword is more apt to fit in his hands better. And it's just a black blade with a red accent on it. So again, it ties back into his overall armor design with the red accents, and then you've got red on that blade. And of course, as you saw, it does fit in the sheath, in the scabbard just fine, so you can hang it on his back. It's one accessory that you can actually keep on him at all times, whether it's in his hand or not, and I really, really like that. But it's always going to be displayed with this guy. It just looks too cool, and in general, it just fits his design perfectly with that armor. So at the end of the day, this is a really cool Predator. I really like the design, and that's why I wanted to get this figure. I just love everything about the armor. I love that sword. I love his color scheme on the armor and the skin tones. I'm a big fan of Predator 2 to begin with, so having this guy in this different form was kind of exciting, and the figure mostly lives up to my expectations. The only real gripe on this guy is those elbows. They're just really hard to bend correctly because those gauntlets are indeed so big. I can kind of work around it, so it's not a huge loss, but it's definitely a hit to articulation, no doubt about it. Otherwise, he absolutely looks the part. He has some solid accessories, and there's just a lot of great sculpt and paintwork in this. It's everything that I kind of expected and hoped it would be in that regard. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys Battle Armor Lost Predator. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.